What's up, and welcome to The Greatest Teacher of All Time, where I, Quincy Dawson, interview teachers of color, tied their philosophies, strategies, and personalities. Today, I've got Oscar. What's up, Mr. C?
Hey, Quincy, how's it going?
Things are good. Things are good. Thank you for being here with me today.
Oh, always happy to kind of share about my experience. And I don't know, you're going to get me thinking about what I've done and what I haven't done and kind of what comes next. So I'm looking forward to that.
All right, here it is. Yeah, a chance for you to get those ideas out. And maybe we could bounce them off each other too. All right, so Oscar, right now you are the Dean of Students at an independent school in LA, yeah?
Yes, I am. Yes.
Um, so I want to know, how did you get into that? Like, what was your start in education? How did you become a dean of students? I know there's
Goodness.
lots in there.
All right, I'll trace back a little bit as much as I can remember here. So I started off teaching mathematics at a large public school outside of Houston, Texas. And I hit this wave at about right in 2000, before the economic crash, when there was so much money and funding going into math and science education. And just left college and started teaching with tremendous opportunities and mentors and professional development that was just kind of some of the greatest thinkers were working at the Dana Center at the University of Texas. And public schools were really getting a lot of funding for math and science. Fast forward a little bit, I thought I was on a track um, to be a mathematics coordinator for a school district or for a large school. Was really interested in teaching mathematics, teaching teachers how to teach mathematics, and thinking about teaching with bright young minds. Having opportunities to start an independent school and be there from the ground up, I was able to kind of create a vision for our math department and bring in the minds and resources to get that program going. But after about 10 years, I reached a place where I wanted to do more. And I wanted to do more with teens. And I saw my work in the mathematics classroom and in the department, I saw that as very limiting in terms of the ways that I could work with teens to help them know themselves. And I was looking for more. And that's kind of how I got into being dean of students, and what keeps me excited about the position I have now and keeps me going. I say to others, I describe my job as dean of students. I am present for students, parents, and faculty in their daily lives. And I think that's so much what it's about. Is about being present, whatever their needs, their interests, their passions, and their mistakes, to help them learn and grow as young people.
Yeah, that's cool. And nah, it's all connected, but like into the lore of the school. I don't think I realized that you were part of like one of the founding people who started it.
We were. I was one of the 8 founding faculty.
Wow,
Many years.
congratulations. And you're still there, thriving.
Still there, and I love it.
Yeah, I think something interesting with that story is that you've always had like this leadership mindset, right? Like with all these classes, studying math and everything, you knew you wanted to do something more than just teach it, right?
Mhm.
Can you tell me where that came from with you?
Oh my goodness, that happened really early on. That was probably within, in my student teaching experience and within the first couple years as a brand new teacher. And I think, as I alluded to earlier, I just had really excellent mentors.
Hmm.
I had fantastic mentors. And as a student teacher, I don't know, I think by chance and I don't know, serendipitous, I walked in for observation with a master teacher who was a Presidential Teaching Award winner from the state of Texas. and was just someone that saw something in me and encouraged me to seek out opportunities and to keep thinking and to think differently about how to teach mathematics. And that just kind of network and branched out. And she kept pushing me as a very young teacher. Okay, think about this, and you need to present here, and you need to go to this conference, and I want you to work on this. You should meet this person here. Um, and I kind of built a network at that time and kept finding other opportunities to get
Ye-
involved and to think differently about teaching mathematics.
Yeah, I like how you said that. So I've talked to another teacher, Imani, in the past, and we were both young teachers talking about the importance of having mentors, right? And so for this mentor you had, they like really steered you in the right direction. But I want to know, did you seek them out? Did they approach you? How did that mentorship happen?
Oh. Quincy, this was entirely just by chance. It was just by chance. I was still in college. I was doing my student teaching observation at a large public high school, and the teacher I was with, said, "Oh, you need to go around and you need to see other teachers." And I just walked into this person's room, and she kind of grabbed me by the arm and sat me in a chair, and had me watch, had me listen, and then would kind of go back and explain her purpose and where this came from and what students were doing, and um, kind of how she got them to think independently and think collectively, working in groups. And then, a relationship and a friendship just built from there.
Man, that's great. Yeah, the best ones probably happen organically like that. So that's great.
But she knew, this was a very experienced master teacher, and
Hmm.
she had led other young teachers through student teaching. She had given professional development, and she knew that I wasn't coming into the mathematics classroom just to teach out of a book and kind of follow page to page, right? She knew that I wanted to do things differently. And I wanted to make a difference for myself and for kids.
That's also interesting you say that too, because I think that people in these positions of power who like are established, they know what they're doing and everything, they have a certain eye where like they can see other individuals who have
Mhm.
that same potential. And they saw that in you. That's really cool.
He did. And Quincy, you say that, and I'm thinking about others, right? Colleagues that I work with and younger colleagues, um, with an eye of, okay, who's going to be next to make that jump
Hmm.
out of the classroom into a leadership position? What kinds of things are they interested in and involved with? What ways do they engage outside of the classroom? And then what leadership skills do they need to think about and reflect on the work that they're doing, um, that they may not even realize?
Yeah, that they don't see yet, right?
They don't see. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's cool. And so maybe going back to this, right? You with your mentor in your education program, it was a teacher education program, correct, for math?
It was I was working on my credential, and it was just kind of the university credit process to get my state teaching credential at that time.
Okay, so now on that, right? So I want to get into how you learn to be a dean of students, right?
Oof.
That's a really important job. But prefacing that question is you're officially trained as a math teacher,
cor-
right? For your
Correct.
schooling and everything. And I'm thinking, before you answer, I think at least my education program, maybe some others, they train you to be that in
Mhm.
that program, right? So for
Right.
example, you get your secondary education degree, you teach
Mhm.
secondary education. Primary education, you teach primary. Special ed, you teach special ed. They have other ones like admin, where you learn how to be an admin. They have leadership ones in education. But like I don't know, how did you become a dean of students without that proper training?
Without that, okay, without that formal experience.
Yeah,
Okay. I think again, it comes back to leadership mentors
mentors.
and being at, I don't know, I don't like to say the right place at the right time. That makes it sound like I just have these great tailwinds pushing me forward, but it really was, I recognized the privilege of opportunity at that time that I had in
Mhm.
front of me. And when the dean of students position opened up, right, I was at a place where I knew I wanted to transition out of the classroom full time, as I wanted to be involved with working with teens in larger ways that I couldn't do just in the math classroom. And when I took on this position, I was drinking out of a fire hose. We were still a very young school. It was the first time the school had a dean of students as the school was growing. And um, I feel like I had very few responsibilities at first. And with this mentor, with the assistant head, um, so much I learned by watching her. I learned by watching her formally and informally, whether it was in meetings together with students, parents, or other teachers. Um, the way that she led the meeting, the way that she interacted, how she elicited reflections and responses from others in the room, how she communicated verbally and in writing, and just kind of her character and the way that she led at school um, was kind of my administrative teaching program, right, on the ground. And from
Mm.
those experiences, and then eventually, right, more formal leadership work and kind of expanding in my role at the school, I think that's how I came to be the dean that I am today.
Okay. Oscar, I'm sorry, but I don't like that answer.
All
So
right.
no, but I'm getting at, so the tailwinds, you watch this mentor, right? But maybe to young teachers who are trying to move up, maybe outside the classroom, what advice or what would you say to them? Like how would you
Oh,
get them
thanks.
to
So
go
for,
that
for
direction?
others that are looking for that transition,
Yeah, yeah.
um, what I know now that I wish I knew, right,
How
10 years,
about that? That's a good question. Yeah.
what I do now that I wish I knew 10 years ago, right, when I was at that point and making that transition. I did not know that, right, of this curriculum of leadership.
Mm-hmm.
I thought leadership was, from title and position alone. And I really hadn't thought about leadership as a curriculum and teaching leadership and thinking about what are those competencies and skills that make someone a leader, and what are the different ways that I can lead, and what are the different ways that students can lead, and how can I craft those experiences for students to build those leadership competencies. So I wish I had done some reading, some professional development. Um, I wish I had thought more formally about leadership as a discipline um, back then,
Yeah.
more than just looking at for a mentor. Um, and I would suggest to young teachers that, right, looking to make this jump into leadership, to begin thinking about what are those skills and competencies of leadership, what are the different philosophies of leadership, and then to develop, right, their own philosophy and ways of practice, and recognizing the ways that they lead now and ways that they want to grow.
Yeah, I like that. And it sounds like you're just alluding to get a wider picture before you just get into it, right? Like it sounds like you don't want someone to just go through brute force in to just learn as you go, right? Like learn about everything you can outside of it, then try to funnel your.
Don't right. Do as I've learned, not as I did at the
There we
time.
go. As I learned.
Do as I learned, not as I did. Which goes to say there are fantastic administrator credential programs. There are amazing leadership programs, and higher education, graduate work in the field of educational leadership.
Mm-hmm.
If I were 10 years younger, maybe a more formal academic route would be something that I would pursue.
Oh, you think?
I think
Interesting.
I do. And, I chose another route for graduate study, where I was in my
Oh yeah,
career.
what's your master's in?
So I did graduate work in statistics.
Okay.
Graduate work in applied statistics, thinking that that I wanted to leave education and get into data science. And after about 2 courses, I'm like, no, this is not for me.
I feel it. I feel it.
Right?
Yeah, and this. Oh, sorry. This might be a cool transition into what you're doing now at your school, right? So, in addition to being dean of students, you're also teaching stats at your independent school, right? Can you tell me about
Correct.
that and how's that going?
Sure. I've been teaching statistics probably for 20 years now. And, after completing my graduate program, that was a while ago. And I guess in the last several years, teaching statistics and looking at updates from the American Statistical Association, looking at revised recommendations from the GAZE report, Guidelines for the Advancement of Instruction of Statistical Education. Um, I see the learning and understanding of statistics, right, much more in an applied context, right? Here's some information, or here's a question. What do we want to know? How can we find out? What do we want to know? How can we find out? Why do we care about these results or about this pattern of behavior that we've observed? And finally, who else should care about what we've seen and what we've summarized here? And so I'm thinking about the teaching of statistics and students, right, understanding of statistics much more in an applied concept that is perhaps more research based,
Hmm.
that incorporates some programming. I think, gone are the days where students are collecting data and entering things just on their calculator alone. There is so much free software available for them to quickly analyze and interpret and understand statistical concepts that don't depend on a preset sequence of theory and procedures. So, I'd like to see more high school programs moving in that direction. Kind of, perhaps with a more, I don't know, Quincy, you would think of this, maybe a more science classroom approach to teaching mathematics and exploration with data.
Yeah. And so with maybe physics specifically, I feel like physics is like a double-edged sword where like the name sounds super intimidating,
Mhm.
right? But once you're actually in it playing with like balls and cars and stuff, you could easily see the fun side, right? With math, I think a class like algebra is hard to convey its importance, but it is everywhere once you actually know what you're looking for, right? Stats and statistics, on the other hand, I think that's more straightforward, right? Like you can easily see, oh yeah, you use stats in this business and this and this and this and these trends, right? Do you
You
see
can't
that?
when you get past, right. How do I think about it? I think about when you can get to the good stuff sooner,
Hmm.
right? right? When you can move past the distribution theory and the notation and the Greek letters, kind of, right, as I'm sure you see in a physics class, right?
Yeah.
When we can move past these formulas, and it's not, pains me to say this, right? Doesn't matter so much where the formula came from or what the theory is for this particular distribution. It's how do we use it and how can we make
Mm,
meaning out of this information?
I get you.
And how can we get students to that place faster where they are interested and engaged and able to apply that to their own interests and ideas?
Oh, is that what you're doing in your classes, or that's something
Oh,
different?
that's where we're making some inroads. I make some inroads, right? I bring in a new project or idea every year, and I'm thinking more and more about how to use R, um, our programming and our statistical software,
Hmm.
in little chunks that get students to that understanding without bogging them down in theory or in programming, right?
Interesting. Okay.
Baby steps, little by little.
Yeah, because man, because it's important to know the why or like how that came from, but also just as important to know how I can use this going forward. So yeah, I could definitely see that's a competition in where should the time be spent.
So it's that balance, right? What I don't know, what initial exposure do students need at a high school level, right? To hook them in and to get them interested. Oh, these are the things that we can do. This is why this is really cool. This is how this is used. I want to know more.
There we go. Yeah.
And I want to know more, right? As a teacher, I want to continue to learn and know more and think about how these processes and these applications are changing, um, as companies take on more and more big data. What does that mean to process and understand? And how do we make meaning of all this information that we have?
Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Hey man.
Mind blown. And so baby steps,
Yeah.
baby steps, baby
It's a
steps.
lot, but you're putting in the work, right? With these different positions you have at your school too, like it's happening.
I'm trying.
Yeah. Again, thank you for sharing all this, Oscar. Your path to dean of students, what you're doing in math. I feel like we could have done a full interview on mathematics education. Like this is
Oh,
stuff.
I certainly could have talked more about our processes there. And I think if we're closing up and reaching a point here, I don't know. I think my mentor would say, right, as my first student teaching mentor, and I'm going to get her quote wrong. She would say, "Never let the opportunity for an experience pass you by." And as you're at that edge and you're wondering, right, am I ready to make this jump? Is this what I want to do? Can I push those boundaries and think differently for myself and for my students? Yes. Do not let those opportunities pass you by. You don't know where they're going to take you.
Yeah. It sounds like one of the quotes from one of my mentors. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Michael Scott.
Exactly.
All right. Again, thank you for this, Oscar. All of this are some of the reasons why I think you're one of the greatest teachers of all time.
Thank you, Quincy. Always great to share.
Yes, yes. Thank you to everyone else for listening to the greatest teacher of all time, where I interview teachers of color to highlight their philosophies, strategies, and personalities.